Welcome, everyone. Let's get started today talking about financial wellness.
It's not starting for you started.
Today, we're going to start talking about financial wellness and why it's key to retaining employees during this Great Resignation. So if you're a business owner or in any way responsible for the performance and well-being of your employees, you're definitely in the right place. So a couple of weeks ago, we presented several strategies for increasing employee engagement and satisfaction and ultimately retention in this age of mass resignations, and why people are abandoning employers and even leaving the workforce altogether in record numbers. Here's some numbers, even updated since just the past couple of weeks, to show you that the trends have actually gotten even worse than before. So according to the Department of Labor, 12 million workers quit their jobs in Q3 of this year. And another 4.6 million resigned in September. So that actually brought the number up by an additional 600,000 over the 12 million that had already quit. So while that pace can't keep up forever, it's really troubling how fast and how many people keep quitting their jobs. And how bad will it get? We don't know exactly for sure, but consider that a PricewaterhouseCoopers survey from August, so this is fresh information, shows that 65% of employees are actively looking for a new job. That's almost 2 out of every 3 employees. Keep in mind that that statistic doesn't even include people who are leaving the job force altogether, which we'll talk about later today. So how is this impacting you and other business owners? Replacing just one employee costs on average 125% of their annual salary at the low end of the spectrum, but that can go up to 200% for skilled workers. And the cost of turnover for an average 100-person company is around $2 million per year. So for any organization losing a third of your workforce, that could be devastating. Many companies are not going to survive the Great Resignation in today's highly competitive and tight labor market. And the impact on small and medium businesses is going to be especially hard. The real cost of the Great Resignation is going to be determined by your company's ability to adapt and to stay relevant to the needs and desires of the current and future talent. So how are you going to adapt? However you do adapt or don't will make a difference in how your company succeeds in the coming months and years. So my name is Matt Michelson. I help small and medium-sized businesses implement specific wellness programs to increase employee retention rates and ensure your company's ultimately ensure your company's financial success. Today, we're going to spend a few minutes diving into the financial wellness survey, what a workplace financial wellness program looks like, how those types of programs can help you retain employees, and when we're actually going to share a couple of case studies of actual people who have gone through this program and the impact that it's made for their employers. And lastly, we'll talk about what to watch for when you're looking for a financial wellness program. So hang on till the end. It's going to be very interesting along the way. So PricewaterhouseCoopers, you've probably heard of them before. If you haven't, they're the second largest professional services company in the world. They provide advisory services to 90% of the global 500 companies, and they work with over 100,000 businesses worldwide. So since 2011, PwC has noticed this trend early on. Years ago, PwC noticed this trend in workplace wellness, and they've conducted an annual employee financial wellness survey starting in 2011. So they've been doing this for 10 years. So it's the longest running, largest, and most reliable survey available on this topic. So naturally, we've been watching these trends highlighted by the survey, and we're going to highlight a few key observations for you here today, right now. So we're going to use the 3 most recent surveys to kind of highlight some things here. So in 2019, 2020, and 2021 are the surveys we're going to look at. In 2019, right before the pandemic, this is a screenshot right from the PwC survey. Employees were asked, what's the top cause of stress at work? Or in other words, what are you stressing about most when you're at work? And the responses came in 5 different areas: financial matters, my job, my health concerns, my relationships, and other. So other could be anything. As you can see, 59% of employees said that they stress most about their personal money matters while they're at work. That's more than all the other stressors combined. Notice that only 15% of people were actually stressing about their job while they were at work. They're more stressed about their financial situation than they are about their coworkers or their boss or any other education job matters, employment matters. So how did PwC's next report compare in 2020 during the pandemic? So just a quick note, this is also a screenshot right from the report. The formatting is a little bit different, but the survey approach and everything was identical to 2019 and all the previous years. But this screenshot from the 2020 report shows that people had new stressor that they had to deal with, COVID, which impacted many people's health and their jobs. A lot of people were worried about losing their jobs. So those stressors, 18% were worried about their job, whereas prior year, 15%. So a few percent more people were worried about their job. Relationships stayed about the same, 12%. Health concerns went up, surprisingly only 1%, but it's understandable that in the age of COVID, those went up. And then other matters went up by 1%. So naturally, when you're thinking about all these other things became stressors, it's going to mean that financial challenges didn't actually get less stressful. It's just that these other things became more stressful. And so there was a blip on the radar for money matters, money stress is actually going down. They didn't actually go down. They just weren't as acute as some of these other stressors that happened during COVID. So even with that, and considering that, financial stressors at work are still by far the largest even during COVID. Now, this year's survey results, 2021, you can see that financial stressors jumped back up from 54% last year to 63%, higher than even before COVID, which was 59. So as you can see, financial stress is the #1 cause of stress for your employees, and it's actually growing as time goes on. So if you're kind of undecided, kind of on the fence about which benefits you need to invest in to increase your employee engagement, to increase retention, you should be seeing big flashing lights here that financial wellness is definitely the biggest area by far that you should prioritize your investment as a business owner. You help even your employees tackle just this one area, you're going to have far more effective and stable workforce. So you might be wondering, what has people stressing so much about money, even more than their health or their job? So first off, most employees already have health insurance and a job, so they're less stressed about those things. So give yourself a pat on the back as an employer. You've done a great job in those areas so far. So while you do provide some financial benefits like a 401k, maybe some basic retirement planning, those perks don't really address your employees' fundamental financial issues. The root cause is different than what you're offering. It's not addressed by what you're offering. The root cause is basically twofold, what we here at Walio call money mechanics and money mindset. So money mechanics is basically financial education. It's the knowledge of how money works, how different financial tools work, when to use them, when not to use them. Includes the pluses and minuses of these different financial tools, strategies for managing financial growth, financial risk, and so on. Just a lot of different things. So, most people have never received financial education, so they have almost no skills in the mechanics of money. The financial system, as you can see here, is so complicated. There's so many different things different tools that can be used to make and save money. But families have to figure this out on their own, and it's so complicated. They have to, they really either have to depend on others to guide them or figure it out on their own, usually by expensive trial and error. So they're often frustrated with the results they get from this hodgepodge of confusing financial tools. And there's always so much uncertainty when they are using these tools about how they're going to fare when markets go up and down. And when they don't see their money growing as they had been told that it would, when they were sold a product and it's not working as they thought it would, they lose hope and they only really see a bleak financial future. We see this all the time. So on top of the money mechanics, many people have a bad relationship with money. In other words, their money mindset is poor. So even if they do make a lot of money, they aren't able to manage it well because of some mental or emotional blocks around money. We frequently see financial professionals such as stockbrokers, corporate finance employees who have lots of financial training, but they still can't translate that knowledge into actual good money management behaviors at home. They may do a great job at work, but not in their personal lives. So at some point, in our lives, we all spend money emotionally, but many people are making a habit of bad money management. They make irrational financial decisions. They don't plan ahead for financial emergencies. They take on too much debt, and all of these lead to poor financial results. So the financial services industry consistently serves people, only the top few percent of the wealthiest people, while, regular families who make up the majority of the population are either underserved or at worst taken advantage of. So what does this mean for you as an employer? How does this affect you? So financially stressed employees report lower morale, they work distracted, they're less productive when they are at work. And that results on average 20 hours a month of productivity loss due to debt and money problems. That works out to 16 days a year of lost productivity from money stressed employees. They also spend an average of 3 hours each week while they're at work dealing with issues related to their personal finances. That's called presenteeism. And that costs on average $7,000 a year per financially stressed employee. Now, this is an average. If you want to know what that looks like for your company specifically, we actually have a calculator to help you know exactly what this looks like for your specific company. So lastly, financially stressed employees, they use sick days even when they're not sick, twice as often as other employees. So this is absenteeism, and that costs employers on average around $3,600 per employee, per stressed employee per year. And to add insult to the injury of all these financial costs, many employees who are in this financially stressed situation actually blame their employers for the lack of lack of financial support. So as a leader of a company, it's clearly in your own best interest to help your employees in this area. And a win-win solution is what's really needed here for your employees and for yourself. So don't leave it up to the free markets like we've been doing to do this job for you. Otherwise, you're going to keep getting the same results that you're getting now if you leave things the same. Consider that 87%, or almost 9 out of every 10 employees, want financial help. They don't just want a 401k and a vague retirement plan. More than 1/3 of employees want to be specifically told or receive detailed guidance on how to handle their personal finances. More than half want to be educated to make financial decisions on their own, and then have someone who's knowledgeable and reliable validate that decision for them. So if you're still not convinced yet that financial wellness is the key to retaining your employees, consider that almost 3 out of every 4 employees who were surveyed said that they'd be attracted to another company that cares more about their financial well-being. So to sum it all up, the Great Resignation, it's here, it's happening. Employees are financially stressed. They want help with their personal finances. They're willing to leave the moment they find it somewhere else. So to avoid this pain to your own business, you need an effective workplace financial wellness program now. This is where we come in. First of all, what is a workplace financial wellness program? It's a combination of financial education that also teaches financial mindfulness, or money, as I mentioned before, money mindfulness and money mechanics. And addresses both of those. Don't confuse this your general workplace wellness program that you might already have in place. This needs to be specifically targeted towards financial wellness. It should include dedicated, specialized financial wellness component with the ultimate goals of eliminating money stress, bringing financial certainty to your employees' lives, changing money management behaviors by replacing bad financial habits with good habits. An effective financial wellness program helps employees then to budget properly, because without proper budgeting, it's nearly impossible to achieve any financial goals. It helps them establish a financial plan that they can actually use, a roadmap that clearly shows where they are today, where they want to go, and clear steps to actually getting there. Becoming financially educated through clear and relevant learning materials that they can access easily, workshops, webinars, having support through personal financial coaching, especially with the money mindset aspect, where there's emotions around money. That's often the difference, sometimes the biggest difference between success and failure financially. So everyone's financial situation is different and unique. So an effective financial wellness program must help everyone where they are starting out. We've developed a way to measure where each individual is on that financial wellness spectrum, and to target their specific needs rather than this one-size-fits-all approach that is taken by most financial benefits providers. So a quick overview shows that an employee who's at the far left of the spectrum on the scale, so we call it suffering, is in acute financial crisis. They're often behind on their bills, they're overwhelmed by debt. They need to stop hemorrhaging money and get their cash management under control. The most effective approach in this case is one-to-one financial counseling. An effective financial wellness program really needs to provide that type of counseling. An employee who's in the struggling column, so just a step above, typically has uncomfortable levels of debt. They typically lack emergency savings. So even one unplanned financial event can throw them into a financial crisis and oftentimes throw them back to suffering again. They need help eliminating high interest debt, building up savings. And again, an effective wellness program needs to provide help with budgeting and debt management for people who are in this situation. Employees who are stabilizing, who are in kind of this middle stage, they usually manage money okay, but they're still not on track for their long-term goals like retirement. They're stable now, but they don't really have their future figured out yet. They need guidance on how to reach long-term financial goals and ensure their money is in the right kind of accounts to maximize their returns and also tax advantages. So an effective financial wellness program really needs to provide unbiased recommendations on which types of available tools are best for their personal situation, and give them education on how those tools work to avoid any financial pitfalls. Employees in the sustaining column, so we're getting more towards the happy stage here, they're typically on track to achieve their long-term goals, but they might lack some asset and wealth protection measures. They usually need some kind of improved insurance and estate plans. And so an effective program must provide wealth protection strategies and tools to them. And lastly, we have our secure employees. You would think that people at this level don't need any help at all, but actually they need to review their plans regularly. They have a solid plan in place, but they need to review them regularly to make sure they're staying on track, make adjustments where necessary. So a really solid financial wellness program needs to provide ongoing education on financial tools and be responsive to changes in the market and to tax laws. So if you look at the scale, who do you think is at the highest risk for leaving their current job? probably not going to be a big surprise to you. But people who are on the far left of suffering and struggling, these people are a higher flight risk because they're uncomfortable. They're more willing to make a change, just any change, just to get out of the pain that they're feeling right now. They want more money. They see more money as the only solution to the problems that they have. And even a small bump in salary, to go to another company might pull them away. These people are usually underutilizing the financial perks that you're already providing them, like a 401k, because they don't understand how it works, or they don't even have enough money to pay their daily bills. They're probably not going to be putting money away for retirement in that situation. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, sustaining and secure people are at a far lower risk of resigning. They usually are comfortable where they're at. They don't really need to make a change in order to make things better. More money for them is a nice to have, but not necessarily a must have. And these people are typically utilizing the company benefits that you're providing. Now, a really big important note to keep in mind is that this scale does not correspond to salary. So while employees who make less money tend to be on this lower end of the scale where people are in more pain financially, and higher, more highly compensated employees tend to be on the other end of the scale where they're more secure, we see a large number of highly compensated employees who are at the left end of the scale, and even a few moderately paid employees who are on the right end. It all comes down to what's the mechanics, what's their skill in the mechanics of money, and what's their skill in the mindset of money. It's almost irrelevant of their level of salary, the level of money that they make. So the goal of our financial wellness program is to move everyone who participates from the struggling, suffering, struggling, stabilizing areas to at least sustaining, if not secure. So let me show you two real life stories that illustrate what our program does for real employees and how that benefits their employers. So we changed some names and some pictures, but the stories are real. So this is Victor. He's a 62-year-old truck driver. He's married with 2 grown kids who've moved out. He owns a house and he's paying a mortgage, and he makes around $80,000 a year. He's a sole provider financially for his household. His wife does not work outside the home. So when we started working with Victor, he stated right from the get-go, I'm never going to be able to retire. And he actually said, I will probably die behind the wheel of my truck. That was kind of a shocker to us to hear, but it also wasn't surprising based on the stuff he told us next. So he was not saving for retirement when he was young. And he did start saving much later in life when his kids became financially independent and moved out. So a few years before we had met him, he'd attended an event on retirement planning that had turned out actually, as he was describing it to us, we realized it was a sales pitch for life insurance. And he came away from that training, if you want to call it that, with an impression that Social Security was going away in 10 years and he wouldn't have anything available to him, and that an insurance policy was the only way to save for retirement. So he had all his money either socked away in this in this insurance policy that was making almost no growth. And the rest of his money was in cash savings in a savings account that was actually not growing at all. So here's what we did for Victor. He was actually pretty good at staying on budget. But he had many subscriptions that he didn't use. We call it money leaks. We suggested he cancel some of the services he wasn't using and helped him renegotiate some of his recurring bills. And he instantly saved $250 a month, or about $3,000 a year. Then we replaced his permanent life insurance and dropped deductibles on his car insurance and found him another $3,000 a year. So we had him open an IRA and start saving and investing his money for tax advantages and better capital gains that he'd been missing out on for years. We also showed him how to safely invest part of his money that was socked away in the savings account that was actually losing value due to inflation. And that gave him another $9,000 a year that he'd been missing out on by keeping his money in the savings account all those years. Overall, he started saving $15,000 a year more towards his retirement using the money he already had, but he wasn't managing properly before he met us. So the last and probably biggest impact we had for him was that we educated him on his Social Security. We clarified his Social Security benefits, educated him on how the system works, and we actually pulled records for him and his wife to show him how they're going to get more than $3,000 a month when they retire. This was a huge light bulb moment for him. He got very emotional. His eyes were very teary, and he was so thankful to me, like it was me giving him this $3,000 a month, but not his own hard-earned money. Victor's story, it's not unique. These kinds of hardworking people like Victor, they never get a financial education, and they're ignored or preyed on by the mainstream financial industry. They need your help as an employer, and they can get it if you have some kind of financial wellness program. In turn, when they thrive, this helps your business thrive. So, pardon the cartoonish sad face here, but Victor's attitude about retirement, started out here on the left and then shifted to the right. Before we met him, he was not planning to retire at all. As you mentioned, he was openly accepting the possibility of dying behind the wheel one day, which would have been devastating for his family and a huge liability for his employer. He actually felt that he needed to increase his income in order to be able to save more for retirement. So he was considering taking a part-time job doing night shifts and then showing up tired for his primary job, which, driving a truck, that's a dangerous combination. So after we got his plan in place, he knew that he wanted to retire, and he knew how much he was going to have in retirement. He had so much more certainty. He knew he didn't have to increase his income by taking another job or working night shifts. That became an option rather than a requirement. So how does the program help you retain employees? It brings that certainty to the families, to the employee and their family. And in this case with Victor, I don't have to take another job if I don't want to. There's a big difference between being forced to do something and being willing to do something. So here's the second story. A relatively young family, Susie and Rob, they're in their early 30s. They have a young daughter, a toddler. They're renting an apartment, and both are working. Their combined income is around $120,000. So according to Susie, these guys are the perfect example of the impact of the program. They really were going through financial struggle and needed to save their family. They came to us, our first planning session, and I spent the bulk of the planning session with my mouth shut. Just, I wasn't sure that they needed a financial plan as much as they needed marital counseling. But I was able to convince them, after hearing some of their stories, that there was a way out, at least financially. And if they were able to work together on the financial problem, that this could possibly help their family. So I showed them how the financial wellness program works, starting with our boot camp that we did, which trains and educates people on how money works. They actually attended the boot camp together and created their financial plan themselves. So when they did, over the next 12 weeks, the subsequent 12 weeks during the course of the boot camp, they figured out their budget, they eliminated money leaks, they created a comfortable debt repayment plan, which they were able to automate some of their payments and, again, create an overall financial roadmap to get from the painful place they were in to the place that they wanted to go ultimately and be stable, financially stable and planning for the future. They were able to have an open, unemotional and meaningful conversations about their money. And in just 12 weeks, they'd eliminated a huge amount of the money-related stress. And were able to restore some stability, not just to their financial lives, but to their relationship. This helped them see a much brighter future together and clearly had much more clarity about investing and planning for the long term. In a year, they were able to eliminate all of their bad debt. They had an emergency fund built up and actually were starting to save for a down payment on a home. But in my opinion, the biggest achievement was not the financial achievement. In her own words, we communicate now without fighting, without tears. I realized my responsibility in our finances and had compassion on my husband for holding the burden for so many years. This is a big achievement. And in my mind, this saved their family. So, financial stress is the #1 cause of divorce in America. And in this case, really happy that it did not happen here. So how does it help you as an employer retain your employees? Imagine Susie or Rob coming for a job every day after an argument at home, thinking about how messy their situation is and that they don't have enough money. And the only solution is to find a new job that pays more. How productive is this kind of employee going to be? How present are they going to be? How engaged are they going to be? There's a very high probability that one or both of these people in this marriage are going to respond to a recruitment call that offers them even a slightly higher salary. Another possible problem is that they break up and they move. That's going to cause a lot of stress in the home. And if one of them has to move, they've got to get a new job most likely. So on the flip side, on the right here, if you have an employee where everything is good, there's financially stable and emotionally stable family. They have a plan that they're working on together. They have goals for the future. They're comfortable with their financial situation. It's a fundamental difference between the two. From we need to make more money to my current job is giving me everything I need. So happy employees build successful businesses. And if you provide a financial wellness program to your workforce that is an effective program, you're investing in your people and it's going to come back into your business at the same time. It's a win-win situation. So that investment pays off quickly and in many ways. So here's how that pays off. So families get rid of toxic debt and money leaks, which increases their disposable income. They pay their bills on time and they live stably from paycheck to paycheck without experiencing financial stress with money running out too much month at the end of their money. They build emergency funds that protect them from sliding back into chaos when financial adversity happens. They're properly insured, their assets are protected, and that brings them additional peace of mind. So you can see how each of these elements is bringing their financial stress levels lower and lower and lower. As they start working towards their long-term goals like children's education, down payment on a home, or retirement, that gives them a greater outlook for the future. And all of this is because of you, their employer, and the paycheck that they're getting, and the truly impactful financial wellness benefits that you're providing them. So in return, they appreciate you. They increase their loyalty to you. Their job satisfaction and morale increases. They show up to work, countering the statistics I showed earlier, an average of they're engaged for an additional 16 days a year of additional productivity that they're providing over what they're not providing when they're financially stressed. They're more involved at work. They're more present at work. It's directly linked to lower absenteeism and lower presenteeism. So again, all this leads to a more productive, stable workforce and higher retention rates overall. So financial wellness programs have the highest return on investment among all other employee benefits. It definitely transforms people's lives and it can transform your business too. So as I mentioned, despite having all these other great benefits that you're probably already providing, health insurance, leave benefits, paid time off, vacation days, sick days, performance bonuses, retirements, 401k matching, some retirement planning, skills development programs. In spite of you already providing all of these benefits, money is still the #1 cause of divorce in America. 44% of people cannot cover an emergency of $500 or more. Almost 2 out of 3 people stress about money at work. 78% live paycheck to paycheck. 42% do not have retirement savings, even when you have all of this in place. So it tells me and should tell you that there's something else that's needed, that these benefits you're providing are not enough. financial wellness program is what you actually need, because here's what that does for these people. It gives them a financial plan. It provides stress-free budgeting if it's done right, helps them eliminate debt and build emergency funds, helps them for retirement planning, and eliminates the financial worries and brings them certainty, financial certainty into their lives. So why Wallio? Why are we, why even consider us? Well, first of all, what you've already got in place isn't enough. A 401k and an 800 number that they can call and ask some questions once in a while to a hotline, not cutting it. So as far as a financial wellness program is concerned, financial wellness providers, our financial wellness program stands out because it's unbiased. We provide, it's available online and in person to all employees, not just the highly compensated employees. It integrates with existing employee benefits. So you can still offer the 401k, and you should still offer the 401k, but we can help your employees actually make more sense of it and increase the participation in that, so that it's actually providing a greater benefit to a greater number of people. We can provide reports on how effectively that this is helping your employees and helping you as an employer. All of these are must-have for financial programs, and but we have some additional benefits that come as well. So some additional things that we have that other providers don't. We have the personalized financial plan that meets people where they're at. Again, it's available to everyone, and it's meets them in with their specific needs. We provide a boot camp. It's 12 lessons and 12 homework assignments, so it actually engages people in the education. They can participate at their own pace and create their own financial plan tailored to their needs and preferences. And then we have an app, so they can take these plans, carry them with them wherever they go, carry the education with them wherever they go, that participants can have in their pocket and keep them engaged and on track. We actually have, and I'll mention here in a minute, some gamification, so they actually want to stay engaged with the app and want to stay engaged with their financial plan, and not just have it be something they forget about and put on a shelf gathering dust. Our personal plan is very unique because it works well for anyone, respective of their income amount. So the first four areas are just day-to-day money flow. We've got to take care of ourselves now, make sure that our financial situation now is taken care of. Then we want to be able, once we get people stabilized in that area, then we look ahead to their short-term and their long-term future. And then once they no longer are working, how can they be taken care of once they're in retirement? So these are the three key time blocks that we have that are all built into our plan. And this also works not just for, again, highly compensated employees, but also for low-wage workers as well. We have plenty of cases where our low-wage workers have a much higher score in our app than, and we have the score, so people can actually compete with one another and see who has a higher score, and it's agnostic of salary. So it's interesting to see the lower paid employees be doing better in their score than the higher paid employees. The other key thing is that the app has a lot of simplicity built into it, so it's not complicated and not difficult to figure out and not really time consuming, but it does provide a great benefit to people who are using it. As I mentioned the boot camp a little bit earlier, there are 12 key areas that we addressed during the boot camp. We have the assignments. They're, again, personalized. It helps people develop new habits. It helps them overcome some money mindset issues, and it's self-paced. And the end result is they come away with their own financial plan. And here are some of our presenters. I'm one of them, and we have a couple of other presenters in that boot camp. And the last thing is the app. It's a unique advantage because of its effectiveness. It keeps accounts and balances, keeps track of those, income and bills, long-term goals for retirement, education and financial calculators. It's a place where you can actually contact, you get direct contact with help from money coaches and financial professionals. So it's always on and always keeping track of the finances so that the person using it doesn't have to do it all on their own. So the Great Resignation has created significant disruption, in summary, for many organizations. While many companies see that as a threat, the smartest businesses are actually viewing this as a tremendous opportunity. The market's being flooded right now with people looking for something better, and these are people who've had enough of organizations that just don't care, that really aren't meeting their needs. So while 89% of employers, almost 9 out of 10, think employees leave because of money, actually only 12% do. So for companies that take the time and energy and invest to prove that they are better and a more caring place to work that addresses their people's actual needs, there's a great pool of talent looking for you right now. It's all about caring and showing you care. As Richard Branson, who you're probably all familiar with, started the Virgin Group, and close to 400 other companies. Many successful are built from scratch. And you know what his formula is for the great company culture? There's no magic formula. The key is just to treat your employees how you would like to be treated. And I hope what we presented today is something that you would want for yourself as well as for them. Take care of your employees and they will take care of your business. It's as simple as that. So if you choose not to do this, this is probably the results that you're going to get. Hey, my boss just gave me a 401k. This is LeBron James. He just got a 401k, but now he's got to go figure out the stock market. So he's actually not too happy by that. And another familiar thing that we see all the time, hey, my new job has 401k matching, but sorry, I can't afford to contribute anything to it. So contact us at wallio.com. As I mentioned, we have financial calculators to help you figure out how this can be impactful in a positive way for your business and provide a ton of other information and resources for you. Remember, it's all about caring. And when people feel taken care of, they have little desire to leave. So look us up and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.